This is RPGDad,
RPGNate.
and here we are with this is our last weekend wrap up for Kingdom of Ghouls because we actually finished it yesterday. Why don't you go ahead and talk about the first encounter?
So they started in the Chamber of Submission, and they stood at the door for a while because the Artificer had rolled a perception check and had seen the traps on the floor.
Well, I actually rolled the first one, but I rolled a 2, and I guess I didn't even see the room because, it was just such a miserable perception check.
So they stood there for a little while, and finally, I think
we wasted a lot of time in that room. Well, if you remember, one person went up to the north part of the room.
That was the Artificer.
I went to the south. I made sure I went nowhere near where you had the X's on the board. And then we kind of stood around.
You went in between the
southern columns.
Yeah, the two columns that were closest to.
Well, there were a row of eight columns north and south, and I went between the southern columns, and I stopped right at the end of the columns. We played this so stupidly. I thought about it this morning. They were traps, right?
Yes.
And I have thievery. I've got that thieves glove where I can send it off and do my thief check from 10 away and all that kind of stuff. I should have done that. And we have two people with Arcana, and these were glyphs.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't anybody do an Arcana to undo the glyphs? Why didn't I do the thief check? It's like we all of a sudden got stupid in this room. We always thief check everywhere else.
Yeah.
Nothing. So, go on. This was just an annoying encounter, but it was just because we played it so badly.
And then once they finally got through the traps...
Well, we hit the range of the traps. That was the bad part. Because
after 10 minutes of standing there and debating on what they were doing, there was this trapezoid wall. The bottom part of the trapezoid was facing the door, and then there were two hallways up the edges of it. So... the druid went down the bottom hallway, or right hallway, whatever you want to call it. And then the artificer and wizard tried. The wizard tried to get to the left hallway, but he was immobilized for...
He was immobilized the entire encounter. Until, the last turn.
But the artificer did manage to get there. Everybody managed to get into the right hallway. I believe the druid was immobilized and she's
she tried flying over and then dove down on that mount, but she still managed to get hit. She was immobilized for a turn or two.
Yeah.
The wizard was out of it for the entire encounter except for the last turn. He just could not make a saving throw to save his life, so he was immobilized or slowed, and he almost died here from all the damage he was taking.
He was taking 15 ongoing psychic.
It was almost amusing because he was just getting stomped.
But then the
Artificer and I made it through without a problem.
So the Artificer had line of sight on the Ghoul King Siege Worm, which was an undead dragon, just an undead dragon, not a Dracolich. And that triggered the encounter that everybody rolled initiative because the dragon also saw him.
Well, he saw him. Unfortunately, he yelled dragon, so the people down in the south corridor that were looking up towards the Hoard of Gold or Platinum, we knew, okay, there's a dragon up there. So I went ahead and charged on in once my turn came around, after everything was triggered.
Yeah, so the dragon, you were the first one to go.
I was first one in. I used my action point.
You charged into the room, and then you charged the dragon, action point, and you charged him again, and then you shifted behind the stairs, because there were stairs going up into the next room.
Gave me cover, and I went squid. I went ahead and blew the Cloud of Darkness.
Yes.
And I dealt...
I forget who was next.
It was 200 points of damage that I dealt in that first round, and you were just like, damn you.
Yeah. And then you guys...
Well, they started moving up, and he moved in right where that junction was. And it was funny because he gets in there, he does his attack, and the druid's up next, and what does she do? She pops one of her creatures behind it. So he's basically trapped. He can't move.
No.
And that was beautiful because the rest of the round was just me poking him in the ass and hitting him. He had all reflex attacks, so he kept missing me. He usually missed the druid, and he was hitting the other players that were in range of his attack.
Yeah. He attempted to hit the beast so that he could get out of there, but he missed horribly.
Well, the beast has had the same reflex and everything as the druid, and
no, he hit versus AC because of tail sweep.
Okay, but he still has a monster AC because of hers and all her buffs. So it was hard to hit him.
Yeah.
But that, I was worried about that encounter, and I shouldn't have been because it was a single beast. But it's those damn traps traps. That's the key word, traps. We should have taken care of the traps, and we didn't. And it was just totally buggered up. And then all that, and it was 3,000 platinum pieces.
Yeah.
And so I that was one of the few times I think out of this I said, all right, it was 4 of us, we split the money. Anytime there were like 3 astral diamonds or something like that, I let the 3. It was only 4 of us this week. RPG Gem didn't play, so it was our artificer, wizard, druid, and my thief.
Yeah.
The core party that's always there. And anytime it was like 3 astral diamonds or something, I said, you guys can keep that. Because I planned on, if any magic weapons came along or something that I got, I'm going to sell them and I'm keeping the gold off of it.
Yeah. So you guys killed the dragon in like 2 or 3 rounds. It was awful.
It was like 3 rounds, but the worst thing was we spent, I don't know how many rounds, trying to get around those stupid traps and not just trying to go ahead and deactivate them. It was the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah. So you then go into the next room. This room, the text was just stupid because it assumed that they immediately moved up.
Well, this room was just weird. It's shaped like a J on its side. And my issue with these, I mean, yeah, I'm used to with a lot of this, since I DM a lot of the encounters, I like when maps have, this is where their starting area is.
Well,
and this has, and the problem is, now I'm looking at your map. I couldn't do it yesterday through this because you're the DM. But when we left where the dragon was, there were steps going up. And that's how you left the room. We're looking at this map, there's steps in the one area. You could either assume that that's where you started or where this door is down there. So,
well, that was the exit to the Bridge of Bones because you see there's, wait, which one? Because there are massive steps, just like
I understand, but it would just be nice if they would put this as your starting area.
I think it would have made my life easier if I would have just looked at the overview map because it does show exactly how the rooms link.
But this was a goofy room. We usually won't go rushing in. If we come into the new starting area, I'll stealth. We'll do something to see what's going on. So we set up where he determined the starting area was, and then he starts reading the text, and it made no sense.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't even moved up there yet. But so we're like, all right, well, we'll move up there. Then we started seeing what was in, and what was in this room.
Well, there were, I don't know how big was this floor. It was the hallway was like 8 wide. There were coffins 2 wide on each side of the room, 4 of them. And then in between these coffins, there was a cloud. You'll figure out what that is later. And then there were 4 columns in front of them.
And a big pile of webs with some bodies in it.
Yeah. So the first thing the druid does is...
Now, granted, right at this point, there are no monsters visible.
The druid starts trying to crack open one of the bodies.
Yeah, she's gonna loot the bodies. I think she's starting to take on the character of the group.
The funny thing was she dealt 19 damage, 1 more damage than she would actually have been able to crack open the cocoon. But once she had touched the cocoon, it didn't matter that she had not opened the cocoon. A Sorrowsworn Dreadwraith appeared in front of them, and I read some more text. They started, because they did try to talk to it, and the druid started with, well, you said you are under the Raven Queen. We are under the Raven Queen as well. And because she said that, he was no longer under the Raven Queen because Dorsane, the Ghoul King, had brought him here despite the Raven Queen and raised him as a wraith under his control.
Well, I don't think the wraith himself ever said he was under the Raven Queen.
Well, no, he did mention the Raven Queen. He said, "Let the Raven Queen hear the tale of her battle. Will no matter how it unfolds."
Yeah, but she should have assumed that that he's here Even though he's a Sorrowsworn, anybody here is going to be working for the Ghoul King.
Yeah.
And that was just the wrong thing to say. Oh, we're here for the Raven Queen. That's not what you say when you're coming into the Ghoul King's domain. The best thing to do would have been to keep our regular spiel, emissaries of Orcus, here to see the Ghoul King. We might have gotten some information out of him before it moved forward.
He didn't know anything. He's stuck in this tomb place.
But I mean, I like to do the role play, see what information we can get, and then just go ahead and initiate combat.
And I think that was the Druid's first time really trying to talk.
Yeah,
which was even though
I was glad that. Well,
triggered,
it's because I sat back on purpose, and I'm like, you guys do this.
And even though she triggered combat, I think it was good that she did try.
Honestly, the group overall is getting a lot better at working with the role playing aspect, and
granted,
it's going to play into
it. Bit.
It's going to play into it when we switch.
Yeah. So you guys just completely slaughtered the Wraith. Granted, your 80 damage turned into 40 damage
on the first turn.
It still hurt him.
But then I pulled out the Force Rapier,
and you could have kept it because he had 16 hit points left when it got to you. He lasted 2 rounds.
Well, I pulled out the Force Rapier just to make sure.
When they triggered combat, the ravens, that cloud, turned into 4 Shadow Raven swarms. And once he had died, because they were under his command, once they realized their master was no longer there, they failed a wisdom roll, and
they got scared and ran away.
They ran and hid in a corner and turned into a cloud in that corner. Yeah. So you guys just destroyed that room. You got ready to loot the bodies, but there were 2
Raven Queen followers.
Yeah, Raven Queen followers in your party. So
we said you don't want to mess with the Sorrowsworn. They're like her bodyguards, her main guys, and you don't want to piss the Raven Queen off.
So instead of
doing that, we put them back in their coffins.
And you gained a healing surge.
Yep.
You regained hit points as if you had spent a healing surge. So, because the Raven Queen was happy with you, and then you went into the dead Sorrowsworns, the Sorrowsworn you just killed. They were all dead. But you went into his coffin, and you found a magic item, and some money, and a potion.
Yep. And I think we gave the potion to the healer.
Yeah. And then you go up the steps at the other side of the room, which led into the next encounter, which was the Bridge of Bones.
And this one we actually ended up role-playing through because we get there, here's the Bridge of Bones, we've got that glove.
And something that really annoyed me with this one was it was a feint, and the way feints are, I figured they wouldn't be so eager to attack because of just the way they are. Granted, yeah, he was working for Dorsane because he felt that Dorsane was a powerful ally to have, but still, he wouldn't immediately
Well, he's the guardian of the bridge. The guardian of the bridge, I mean, you played it right. A guardian of a bridge is not just an aggressor that's going to attack everybody who comes to a bridge. I mean, if they do that, you might be attacking allies before they give the secret handshake or password. I think some of the problem of what D&D encounters, these things have become, is it's just combat with miniatures. They've stripped the role-playing out of it. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that like doing that, but, I mean, I cut my teeth playing this game in first edition, and it wasn't combat with miniatures. There were no miniatures. Everything was in your mind, your imagination. The DM kept track of what was going on over there in his head. You said what you were doing. You role-played your way through. It was very heavy on role-playing. And a lot of the game's been stripped of that with this encounter-type scenario where it's one combat after another.
Yeah.
And you did the right thing because the guardian of the bridge is not just going to be like, oh, they're creatures, I'm going to kill them. He's going to go, halt, who are you, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. And it acts like everybody knows who you are. It's like, oh, I saw you, who are you? It's just like...
Well, it's not like they would even know who we are because we've either talked our way through or killed everybody beforehand. Who's running forward to tell them that their adventure is coming. There's nobody left alive to tell anything.
And I'm pretty sure here I don't see any telepathy on his cards, so that wouldn't work.
But either way, I mean, this assumption that everybody knows who you are and that you're coming, it doesn't cut it. Because, like I said, if you're clearing everything out or working your way through, either the people you killed can't tell, or the people that you've either bluffed or coerced your way through, they're not telling either because they think that you are who you said you are. Granted, so it makes no sense to assume that every room knows who you are and they're just going to attack.
Granted, I do require them to make bluff checks just to see.
Well, what you do, it depends. I mean, if we come up with a very good argument, you'll still do the bluff check, but half the time I get the feeling you're giving us a bonus, too. If we gave you such a good, we role-played it out so well, or gave you such a good reason of why we're there, even though we're lying. The bluff is just, can he tell you're lying or not? But if you... let's face it, we're experienced adventurers at this point. We're level 26. We would know how to bluff.
I don't think I required you to make a bluff check with this guy.
Well, if you remember, he said, well, prove it. How prove that you're who you are. And the artificer pulled out that glove. And he's like, why would I have this to control the bone bridge if I wasn't who I said? And he said, well, who was the guy?
Corconair.
Yeah, Corconair had that. And he said, well, he gave it to us because we're his betters. We were his betters because we slaughtered him, but he doesn't know that. And he was just like, okay. And then the artificer made all of his checks. And
before he made it, he's like, well, then show me you know how to use it.
And we're like, uh-oh.
and the artificer is just like, oh shit, I'm going to die. And he goes up to the bridge and he starts making his checks. He has a +5, so there was no way he was going to fail that check.
Well, +5 plus his Arcana, so there's no way.
So he just makes everything by like a mile. And the bridge opens. I'll post... I might or might not put a picture of the bridge up because it does actually have it.
I don't think I would do that because that's a copyright infringement. Wizards might get mad.
But it was...
if you want to see it, buy the module, play it, have a good time.
Or Google Bridge of Bones, and it might show you that there.
Wizards might actually have a picture up, but you don't want to breach their copyright.
Yeah. But anyways, so you guys were scared to go across that thing.
Well, I stealthed across. I walked carefully because I didn't know if it was something, if you're an enemy of the Ghoul King, it would know it and still get you. I don't trust anything in these things. I played this the way I figured my character would. She tread lightly. I mean, I rolled like a 47 stealth walking across it, so I'm like, all right, if there's anything, it's going to be a hard time for it to sense me, and you're like, you're fine, you got the thing. I still didn't believe you, though.
Oh, man. Obviously, the Bridge of Bones is kind of alive. So if you hadn't done that and you stepped on the bridge, you would have received an attack, and if it would hit you, it would try to throw you off into the void.
That's okay. I would never hit... I would be fine with my ring.
But, no, the void, you'd be falling endlessly.
So I'd stab myself, kill myself, and resurrect the next day.
Yeah, it would be funny, though. Yeah. And then, so you guys got through that. It took like 15 minutes of talking to him to actually...
Yeah, and I enjoyed that. I really enjoy the role-playing when we're playing. That's what the game is about.
And then you went into the Ghoul King's palace, which this is the final section of the entire thing. So the first room you walk into, you talk to the guy. This I actually did require you to roll a bluff check. What do you say?
Which guy was this?
It was a werewolf guy. The one that he wasn't a werewolf. He was a ghoul.
This is where the
trap.
The blood trap was. There were 2 ghouls and then a lot of minion ghouls. And if you remember, I think this is this the one where I walked in and I'm just like, I tapped the sword and said, come on, we're here to kill you?
Well, no, at first you're like, we're here to see the Ghoul King, we have a message for him, stuff like that, and then you say something, I require you to roll a bluff check. He fails his check.
I don't think I failed the check. We started combat.
He failed his check.
Yeah.
He rolled a 4. You rolled a 4, you rolled a lot higher than that. Then you're like, All right, well, I'm going to kill you.
Oh,
toss
no.
your sword.
No, remember what I did? I walked over and I put out my hand in the gesture and I used that theft thing and I stole his sword. I stole his weapon.
Yeah.
I basically picked his pocket big time, took his weapon, and he was down to no weapon to fight with, so he had to use his hands. And then it was just like, all right, we're on. And as always, I got initiative in this, and we just beat the hell out of him. The only bad thing
you killed this guy in the first round. You killed the ghoul warrior in the first round, the guy that you talked to. The wizard just completely obliterated this room with chain lightning. He killed all the minions, and he did.
Yeah, it was the first time ever. I mean, he hit everything in the room. Every minion went down, and it ended up, because I had killed the ghoul warrior, the other guy comes over, and he's standing by himself after the wizard went. It was hilarious.
Yeah. And then the ghoul gatherer is the one that was on the other side of the room, was the only one there. At the beginning...
Well, once we started it, that tripped the trap. The room's filling with blood. And I said, look, I said, you guys are going to have to take care of the combat. I said, I have a feeling it's a trap. I took the glove off. I did what I should have done in that first room, and I started making my thievery checks. And each time I passed, it delayed for another round. Because first it started off where a small creature would have had a hard time. Second round, a small creature would have to be swimming. We were then going to have a hard time. And I'm like, screw this. You guys kill this thing. It's not going to have that many hit points. And I'm going to do my thing. And
if you would have got into 4 rounds with that trap on, that would have been psychotic because it fills to the ceiling. You're in the water.
I put my cap on.
In the blood.
All I got to do is switch caps.
The ghouls gain 20 regeneration. You guys start taking 10 psychic damage. And you start suffocating.
Yeah, I wouldn't suffocate, though.
But
the rest of the party would, but I wouldn't.
You and the artificer managed to disable the trap. The artificer actually failed one. He would have taken 15 necrotic if you guys hadn't have...
Well, we all have so much necrotic resistance.
Yeah. But you guys just plowed through that room, then you opened the door to release what little blood was left, and you go and... pop a
I used the blade that I have, the Exodus knife, and we took a long rest and cleaned up so that we would at least look nice when we went through the rest of the thing.
Encounter.
Yeah. So then we come to Theater of the Fleshless.
Now this one was fun because the floor was filled with a bunch of bodies in certain places,
and then there were 5 ghouls up on the stage, because it was like a theater, it was like a stage, and one of them's holding a skull. And it was almost playing out from Hamlet, alas, Yorick, I knew him well. He was sitting there. He didn't say that. You said he was just mumbling, talking to the thing, but that was really what it was. It was a play off of Hamlet, with this ghoul holding a skull and talking to it.
Having a one-sided conversation with the object.
That's exactly, and that's in Hamlet when the guy's out there and he digs it up. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well, and he's talking to the skull of the guy that used to be jester to the king. And I just laughed, and I said, we walk in and we're standing there listening to him go on, and I pulled the blade, Nightbringer, and I tapped it on the floor, and I said, we're here to kill you.
Well, no,
I said, we're here to kill you. And you said, well, what do you do? And I shot the hand crossbow, and I killed the ghoul that was holding the skull. That took care of triggering combat right there. I was like, we're just going to go with this. And it ended up that the skull was not a skull. What was it?
He was Sir Darren Demilich. He was like, what the hell did you do? Why did you do that? Because he was sitting there going through a play with his skull, with his ghouls. You probably could have snuck past them because they were too busy having fun doing their play.
I know, but you know what?
You ruined their ghoul fun. The little bit of ghoul fun they can have, you ruined it.
We wiped out the ghouls. We killed the Demilich.
No, the Demilich ran.
Well, we got him down to like 15 hit points. That's when he ran. But we just stomped these guys, and it was just a fun start to the encounter because I knew the reference when they were doing it, and it just made me laugh, and that's why I just tapped the sword and I said, we're here to kill you, and I killed the ghoul that was holding the skull without thinking it could be a Demilich, and it just went from there.
You forgot about Asarak, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because remember, he was the floating skull. So you guys
did that, and it was good because in the prop room, We found a magic weapon.
And you found a bunch of skin suits.
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about that. That the artificer uses is going to use for his ghoul army. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that.
So then you moved on to the honor guard encounter. And there was a crown wing here. He spoke deep speech, and your wizard's the only one that's able to do that. I think he took a paragon path that allows him to speak. I don't know what it is. It might be a paragon path, background.
Something where he speaks all languages.
Yeah. And
our wizard actually role-played very well through this.
Yeah, he managed to talk to the crown wing. I did require him to make a bluff check to make his arguments valid because they were his honor guard. They wouldn't let him by easily, but once again, I rolled like a 1.
Well, we used our same thing, you know. We're emissaries of Orcus. We're here to see the Ghoul King. And, you know, it makes sense for him to go ahead and, if he believed us, to let us through.
Yeah, I failed so horribly on the insight check.
And that's just it. You know, if you're playing stuff like this, don't be afraid to role play it. Don't think that you have to just bam, bam, bash, crash, bang through these things. I think it's totally absurd. If you've got a party who just can't role play or just wants to bash bang through, that's fine. But if you've got a party that really wants to do the role playing, and I mean that, I was so happy that the wizard got into that. He role played it well, and you know, it was probably 10 minutes of talking back and forth. He did an excellent job, and we got through that by role playing instead of combat. I'm sure there are people out there, oh yeah, you can't do that. Yes, you can. It's the DM's choice, and if the DM chooses to utilize roleplay, it's a role-playing game. Look at the books. Look at everything you have. It says role-playing game. It doesn't say combat with miniatures. I'm going to be honest. The freaking whores out there that have turned this into combat with miniatures to make more money off of selling maps and minis and stuff like that really pissed me off. It stripped some of the game. Some of what was perfect about the game from the game, and just turned it into something that it's not. D&D is a role-playing game, and if your DM is going to let you immerse yourself in the game and role-play and give you the chance once in a while to talk your way through, role-play through, not just say, hey, we're here for this, bam, you're done, but really immerse the party into the role-playing aspect, it's a great thing.
So you guys walk by them, and finally an encounter with a map. The Bridge of Bones had a map, and this one also had a map.
And this map was... The whole party was worried when we walked in here. The first thing that one of the guys in the party said is, you're just going to leave us, aren't you? He thought that I was just going to bail for sure and let him die.
Yeah, because the floor was made of ghouls.
Like wall-to-wall ghouls that were in so tight they couldn't move, but... You know, they're sitting there with their mouths up and it's just like, this can't be good. And then there were all these skulls up on columns, like about a dozen of those things. There's a Balor in the middle and the Ghoul King behind it. I'm just like, this is going to kill everybody. I didn't think the skulls on those towers were minions. Fortunately, they were.
They shouldn't have been. It would have been a lot more challenging for you guys if they weren't.
It would have been a TPK if they weren't. But no matter how powerful our party was, we would have died there if they weren't minions. Now, we made this through relatively easily, mostly because I chose to concentrate on the Balor and eliminate him quickly.
And then he just exploded.
Well, I went in. I did my first attack with the Eldritch Blade. Then I used my Minor to flip over to that other blade that did the psychic attack, and it also what was the name of it? The
Nightbringer.
No, not Nightbringer. The one that we got.
Sorrow Song.
Yeah, the Sorrow Song sword. She had said this will help you when you might help you. And it did, because what it allowed me to do on my action point when I charged, I hit the thing, it then became
Vulnerable 15 psychic.
Vulnerable 15 psychic, which half the damage on this was psychic, and with me wielding it and doing 100 points of damage or 90 points of damage, it guarantees that it's going to take some smacking. And it also allowed me to push it 5. And it got it out of the way, and it allowed the party to move in on the platform, so they weren't all standing on that big mound of ghouls in the bottom.
Yeah.
And from that point, I switched. Well, I think I stuck with that for another turn or two, and then right as like the Valor goes down, I had switched over to the Nightbringer, and it's go ahead through this. This just pissed me off because I needed to use that sword.
The moment he switches to Nightbringer, that was the end of his turn. Dorsane was up after the wizard. I think the wizard got one more attack off on him.
Yeah.
And then he teleports to one of the columns that the flame skulls were on. So he was out of range of Nightbringer because the columns were 35 feet up, the ceiling was 55, and then the floor of ghouls was on everything but where his throne was, which was a fairly big platform.
And I need to use Nightbringer in every combat, otherwise it gets annoyed with me. But fortunately, I'd leveled up. And I was at like 19 as far as it being super pleased with me. So I'm still at 17. It's still pleased with me, and I'm not going to take any dings on it. But I'm going to keep that cursed blade.
Yeah. And so you guys just killed.
Well, I went to my crossbow. Yeah, I started using that, and I just slapped him hard.
So Liz, or the druid, manages to summon something right in front of him.
It was a flying thing.
It was, I don't know what it is. It's like a celestial guardian or something like that. But
and the beauty of it gives combat advantage to everybody. Yeah.
So on his next turn, he teleports away from that, and then you guys do like another 100 points of damage to him. At this point, he's like at under 100 points.
Well, I was happy because with that thing up there, usually I've got to do like moves to get combat advantage, and it's got range things. Well, as long as it was within weapon range, having that next to him gave me combat advantage, and I didn't have to worry about the be within 5 or be within this. As long as I was within range of using the weapon without taking any modifiers down, I was still able to do what I do, and it was just... I was so happy she pulled that creature out at that time.
Yeah, so he then teleports again, and this is the last teleport he can do. Not because of like limits on using it, but because he died.
Yeah.
In that round. The artificer killed him with the bows that raises ghouls, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen.
No, you're not raising. The Ghoul King is a ghoul. He's just dead. And besides, I was going to cut his heart out and deliver it to the lady.
Yeah. So, you guys... the druid probably had the flying thing pull his body down.
No, I remember I said I used my hook and I pulled him down with that.
Yeah. It was funny because the druid had summoned 2, what are they called? It's like a 50-50.
Oh, the bullets.
Yeah. She summoned 2 and they both got sucked down into the ghouls, and they figured out how bad that was.
Yeah.
Because if you end your turn on the ghouls, you make an acrobatics check, and then if you fail it, you fall prone, and then when you're prone on the ghouls, you get pulled down. You take 3d10 plus 10 damage, you lose a healing surge, and then you are stunned until the end of your next turn. Which means, unless somebody pulls you off, you are dead.
I could get out of the stun immediately, and then I'd use my flying hook and pull myself out.
Yeah.
Everybody, but that's the thiefy thing. So, I've got those feats and all, and I've built this so that I can at least get out of a stunning and get myself out of trouble.
Yeah.
But that was the end of it. We killed the Ghoul King. I was really worried about that room when I saw all the crap you had in there and you described it. Like I said, fortunately, all those skulls were minions. The wizard did his chain lightning and killed all but 2. So they became non-players in the room.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, if what was the one before this? The module.
Death Reach.
Death Reach. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun to play. This one, it was a lot of fun to play. I can see if you don't have a group that has broken characters like we do, it being a little bit more of a challenge. But I guarantee you, if you're an experienced player, you're going to have plenty of characters that are maxed coming into this. Now, granted, these are characters we built from low level and brought them up. But
the wizard and the druid,
they started a little late.
Yeah, but
they started at like 20.
Artificer, he was playing a character from the beginning, or actually, no, he wasn't, because he was a DM of the season that we took these players.
Yeah, these characters kind of evolved out of the Drow season. It went from level 1 to 8 in encounters, and that's when we said we're going to keep going.
But he did start in the Tomb of Horrors with us.
Yeah.
What did he play then? He played a paladin.
Yeah, he was playing a paladin, and he was just being entirely evil for a paladin.
He straightened up after I was like, you're going to flip to a fighter if you don't stop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, these are characters we've been building for a long time.
Or probably a knight.
I had a good idea of what I wanted to do with this character when I was playing it, and that's what I'm doing and have been doing throughout. So if you're going to play something like this, I would honestly say start at a low level, work your way up, work your way through Tomb of Horrors, work your way through all of these. If you want to just end up with an epic 30th level character and have a good time, find a DM that's not like, I just want to do a campaign. Let them walk you through all these modules and just have fun with them.
Granted, in Tomb of Horrors, we hadn't really started with the role-playing thing yet. And there were some places that you could have done.
We could have, but
I really hadn't started that. It was halfway through Death's Reach that really started.
Yeah. Well, that's when you realized there's a lot of role playing potential in these modules, and started to go ahead
their
and do it.
Intelligence, and I'm like, they're not stupid.
Yeah, if you have a low level intelligence creature, they're just going to run and smash things.
Now, some of these rooms in here, the creatures were like 3 intelligence. They were dumber than
dirt
piece of crap. So they were just going to attack you. Like that one room that you sprinted through last week, that was one of those rooms.
Yeah.
And because of that, they were having issues trying to cope with what was going on. They were like, wait, why did Thief just run through?
Well, the Thief went through invisible through 2/3 of the room, and then all of a sudden, behind them, you see me pop out from being invisible, charge, smash the wall, and then shift out, and they're like, huh?
Yeah.
Because I have so much... I've built that thing so I have so much movement. I've got some moves where I'm just invisible for a while, and I just go whoop, whoop, and there's nothing they could have done to have stopped me.
Also, after you guys had killed Dorsan, you went to a chest behind him, behind his throne. There was a massive statue of Orcus, and at the bottom of the statue there was a massive treasure chest. This was the Lich's hoard from the last one. His phylactery would have been in here, but I made it so that he came back here and took it. Because, a Lich wouldn't leave his phylactery where, if you're a Lich, you're not going to leave your phylactery where you know that these people are going to go. So you guys got 6,000 platinum pieces, 3 astral diamonds, I would think you guys... Or did I bump that up to 4?
No, it was 3. I let them have it because Once you said that there were all these magic items, I planned on taking mine and probably selling
it. Was supposed to only be 3, but I figured there were 4 in the group. I didn't want.
Well, there were 3. I told them to take it. I wasn't worried about it.
Remember, I made it a level 30, a level 29, a level 28, and a level 27 because I didn't want somebody to be walking away from this. They just completed the session.
Well, he completed the module.
So I figured everybody should.
And there were only 4 of us, so...
I figured everybody should get something, and
I could have walked away from this without getting something because I've picked up 2 other swords through this thing that I'm kind of switching between.
Yeah. So I had them roll a d20.
I really wanted that 30, but
And whoever it went from highest to lowest, the highest got a level 30. I believe you got a level 29.
Yeah.
The wizard got a level 28.
And then the Artificer got to 27.
Yeah, the Artificer was rolling awfully on everything but, attacks.
Yeah.
He had rolled several 1s on initiative.
Well, the funny thing was, you had Toothlust and some other stuff that we got.
Well, you got, the artifact was... This was the only artifact because it was the only thing that was actually powerful in your hands. It was... Where is it? There it is. Aldaviator.
Well, that's the one that was like against the Fae, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the druid was like, "Oh, I want that," and we're like, it doesn't
I'll read.
Just hold on. It was like it doesn't really make much sense for you to take that because read when you read the description, it's out to destroy Fae creatures. Yeah. Well, here's a druid that summons Fae creatures. It's like the antithesis of a druid staff.
Here are the goals. So this one is actually a good goal. It's not too bad. See and travel to new places. The multiverse is wide, and every part of it must be traversed. That one's not too bad. That one's...
Yeah, that's for an adventure. That's fine.
That's just adventurous. The second one, this one's really evil. Destroy all Fae. Their ability to step between worlds transgresses what should be the realm of Aldaviator. That one right there.
So right there, she'd be compelled to destroy members of her party.
Yeah.
And she'd be compelled to destroy her summoned Fae creatures that she uses in combat all the time.
Yeah, she would granted, she would only get this once per day. She would get a -1 every time she didn't kill one of her creatures.
Yeah, but it's going to stack.
But
it may...
Oh, and it doesn't want you to travel someplace it has been, so... Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for a druid to have it. The other characters didn't want it, so they went ahead and sold it, and they split the money.
What did you guys get? It was like 3,250,000.
3.4, something like that. But
yeah.
That's not important. She realized, you know what? She's like, but I'm a dwarf, I'm not Fae. And you're like, but you summon Fae creatures. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't make sense to keep that. But overall, the closing of the module, it was fun. It was kind of funny when you're getting these items that really are not going to work with any group. I mean, if you've got elves, you've got drow, you've got any type of Fae creature in your group, and here you're getting an artifact that wants to destroy Fae creatures, you have to get rid of that.
I don't think we have elves. We have a...
No, I'm saying if you have a group that has that, you can't keep this. And there's no way a good DM is going to say, you know what, that's a good idea, you keep that. Because you're going to eventually have to be attacking your own party members.
Yeah, because when it gets to angered, it loses its power to link to teleportation circles, which is one of its properties. And you take a -5 penalty to attack rolls and damage rolls against creatures other than Fae. So you're basically not hitting anything.
Yeah, you're useless. So you're better off take the money and run and get rid of the damn thing.
Yeah, and at unsatisfied, when you're slid, pushed, or pulled, you are moved 2 more squares than the attack specifies. So it just gets annoyed at you.
Yeah. But with the dwarf, that probably wouldn't do anything because you can't be pushed, pulled, slid, or anything
but it's
more than
by 1.
Yeah, but some of the stuff they gave out at the end, it makes sense for the bad guy to have it, but it makes no sense for a party to have it.
The other stuff was useless in your hands. It just acted. The Toothless staff was a +5 quarterstaff.
But that was only useful in his hands, so, it was one of those things. It's no point in
So
having.
It basically just turns into a +5 magic quarterstaff in your hands.
Yeah.
The Cloak of Mouths, which was the thing on his back, was the +5 Cloak of Resistance. And I think that is actually good.
I don't think anybody took that.
Yeah, you guys took both of those. You took it.
But I don't think they've sold it or anything yet.
Doesn't his Cloak of Mouths look nice?
No, I can't see anybody wanting to wear that either.
Yeah.
That's pretty ugly. But, that's it for Kingdom of Ghouls. As I said, we had a lot of fun playing it. I can recommend, if you're going to go through these, just go through and have fun. Find a good DM who might role-play through some of it. Find a DM who really wants to get immersed in this and just have a good time.
And if you are a DM planning on playing this and doing similar to what we did with all the role-playing, if you're worried about not being sure where to do it, just look at the monster's intelligence. 10. If it's 10 and over, they would actually be able to do that.
Just figure average intelligence. A normal person doesn't want to get killed. They don't just rush blindly into stupid combat or stupid things.
Even if it's a ghoul.
Some of those ghouls are pretty intelligent.
Yeah, ghouls aren't stupid. They aren't zombies.
Yeah.
They are
Just dead.
Yeah, they're dead. That's all. They don't want to die. They don't want
to be more dead.
Yeah, they don't want to die again.
Or cease to exist. But, what did you think of this part of the campaign?
It was annoying that you smashed my Valor.
I was so happy. But I was pissed because I didn't get to switch my weapon one more time and not have my sword mad at me.
I was happy about that. That was funny. Yeah. So then you guys went and sold Old Aviator, and I think that was all you sold.
Well, I'm going to sell on my own some stuff, and we've already talked about some stuff that I want to do to my character, and I'll use that gold for that. But from this we move to Prince of Undeath, which is from 27 to 30.
It's either Prince or Master, I don't know.
One or the other, but it'll. I'm already halfway to 28, so I'm hoping to hit 30 well before we get to Orcus, and then I'll have all the stuff that I've planned on having when I get to him.
Now, even though you have that passive stealth thing, Orcus is going to see you. His passive perception is a lot more.
We'll see. My passive stealth will be extremely high.
Now, Orcus is...
Now, most rooms throughout that, though, I'll be able to walk through and nobody's going to see me until I stab them in the face.
Yeah. Granted, if you walk out in the open, no cover, I think...
I could stand in the middle of a room with that, and no one can see me.
Yeah.
It's an insane thief power, and, I built this thing, even took the Epic Destiny and everything, with this one power in mind.
Yeah. So that was Kingdom of Ghouls. We had a lot of fun through it.
I did.
I think some parts I got really annoyed because I just couldn't hit, or they just destroyed a monster that
you would get annoyed because you would have a monster you thought was wicked cool, and he would have like a reflex attack. And when I'm running 48, maybe 50 reflex, you're not
I like the
hitting
Demi-Lich with his Trap the Soul attack. It was plus 30 versus Fortitude. You were stun save-ins, and this was an at-will.
Well, the one that you hit me with should not have hit. I realized that later because he's undead. This weapon I'm holding gives him -2 to hit. I had another buff from the charge, and I had another buff from somebody else. You were right on. The other 2 buffs would have negated it, and I just forgot.
Yeah. So you got that, but
that was the one time you got to hit me, and you were like, ah ha ha ha.
But the attack was plus 30 versus Fortitude, no damage, but you were stun save-ins. And you were stunned, and you lose 1d4 healing surges. I rolled 4 on all of them. It was funny. And then that was still save ends. And if you failed the second time, you died. And you were trapped in a soul gem. So that I like that attack, but nobody got that far through.
Well, we could have taken care of that with the Raven Skull that I had. After that, everybody made sure they had...
Healing surges
in that Raven Skull, because then there's no soul gem that you got to worry about.
Yeah, but that was Kingdom of Ghouls.
A lot of fun, highly recommended.
Yeah,
think your characters out when you go through.
We're going to move on to also Kingdom of Ghouls. Don't make good characters. Make unaligned. No good characters, because some of the stuff in there you can't be good.
Exactly, like making the agreement with the Bone Seers so that you can get the boat. No good character, no matter lawful, chaotic what, is going to agree to cut the heart out of the Ghoul King. I don't care what you say, a good character is not going to do it. You're wrong if you think they will.
And if you're playing with the Paladin in your group and he's the only good character, just throw him in the Lake of Black Blood. He'll be fixed.
There's no way that Paladin's going to make it through here and do some of the things that you really need to do to survive and get through it without losing his Paladinhood.
Well, I mean, if you play it so that you're just killing everything, the Bone Seer is the only thing that you're going to worry about. And if a Paladin's in your group, just throw him in the Lake of Black Blood and he's gone.
But exactly, I mean, right there, you've got a problem with a Paladin in the group. And for him to agree to do anything that she asks, or even just not kill her, he loses his Paladinhood. Yeah. I mean, it's that severe, some of the things that are asked of you in this, and if you think that you can get through this with a Paladin, you just don't understand the game. And if your DM lets you do it, they're bad DM.
Yeah,
there's no way.
Thanks for listening. If you're on YouTube, rate, favorite, subscribe, stuff like that. And if you're on the blog, click the link to get to YouTube and do all that stuff anyways.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. This is RPG Nate, and bye.
RPG Dad signing off.